Today on the channel, we'll be replacing Elise's brake pads. So stay tuned. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be replacing Elise's brake pads in her bike. But before we do that, if you all could go down below and like and subscribe to the channel, it actually helps us out a lot. And after this video, if you want to see someone who's actually good at repairs, check out Pedal Repair on YouTube. We'll leave a link to his channel below. But let's get started. Here's what you're going to need for this video. Isopropyl alcohol, say that 3 times fast. A old dish towel or rag. Some Q-tips. Your new brake pads. Something flat to move. The brake pad levers. And a wrench. A good old trusty wrench with an Allen hex key or just an Allen wrench. Alright guys, so the obvious first step is step 1. We snap our fingers. And that should remove your tire. So step 2 is going to be actually removing the brake pads that are in here. So without further ado, I'm going to grab the tool I forgot to tell y'all that you need it, which is the pliers. Okay, so step 1, on these brakes there's this little pin that we're going to have to remove. On other brakes, sometimes it's a screw. It really just depends on manufacturer. But for these, you see this little piece right here. If you get a little bit closer back to the metal. Yeah, right there. This we're going to have to bend out straight so we can just pull this pin out. So let's just take a pair of pliers. Bend that on straight. Oh, not straight enough yet. And then we just pull that out and the pin's been removed. So next step is we're going to take these out. Alright, so we gotta get this guy out. So on this one, we're just gonna push it out. And that just pops out the old brake pads. Which, these ones aren't too bad, but your back ones were absolutely awful. But we'll go ahead and replace these anyway, because these are about 3 years old. And we'll do it for the sake of this video. And since I got a pair, when I went and bought the brake pads, might as well have some nice fresh brake pads. But anyway, let's move on. Alright guys, so we're going to take a rag that's soaked with isopropyl alcohol, just rubbing alcohol. And while we got the tire off and these brake calipers off, not brake calipers, brake pads out, we're going to go ahead and just rub down and clean everything. Gear looking good. Try to get any of this grease off. Keep us from getting any sort of contaminant on these new fresh brake pads. And then once we got the outside, I'm going to show you all in a second here. We're going to take the Q-tips and we're actually going to clean out the inside gunk. And we're going to clean out the actual, where the, I guess it's kind of that piston where it grabs onto the brake pads and moves in and out. We're going to clean those off too. That way we make sure that we're getting equal action on both sides of the brake pad when we're pulling. But yeah. So let's grab some Q-tips. Alright guys, so I took a Q-tip, we soaked that thing with isopropyl alcohol, and we're just going to go in these nooks and crannies right here and get anything we missed. And then we're going to come up in here, come around, make sure you're inside here. And we're going to kind of clean out on these little pistons in here, because these things tend to get really dirty. This is the only time you can kind of get in there. And you can see, just look how nasty that was. See on these edges of these pistons? We'll make sure we kind of get it with the alcohol on this too. And just get it nice and cleaned off. And it's going to get all this junk off. But yeah, once you get that all nice and clean, make sure you let it air out and actually dry, because you don't want to get the alcohol inside the system. I mean, another way you can do this is actually use some mineral oil and rub around the edges of that little spot if you're really worried about it, but alcohol evaporates and you should be fine. So yeah, let's move on. Alright guys, so the next step, we've let that rubbing alcohol dry off and evaporate. We're going to take something flat like this. You can see how flat that is. And we're actually going to push those pistons apart into their starting position. This is going to make it easier to put the new brake pads in, and it's going to keep the rotor from rubbing when we reinstall it. Now, something flat and hard will work. There is a tool sold by Parksite that kind of wedges them apart. When it's flat, it's probably better for this, but yeah, I'm never going to recommend you go out and spend money on a tool if you can do this yourself. We're just gonna Push that in. We're going to push that in. And those were pretty far in to begin with, so we don't really have to go too far on these. Yeah, that should do it for us. So next step, we're going to go ahead and put the new brake pads in, insert the pin, and put the wheel back on. Alright guys, so this is the next step. We're going to put the new brake pads in. So this is how you put the brake pads together. And it's going to depend on the brake pad you're using, but they all have some sort of variation of this. For Shimano, the ones we're doing, you're going to need the pad, the spring, and we're going to put it just on top like this. See how that kind of fits in there? And then we're going to very carefully put our other one on top. So it kind of makes this little sandwich. Ah, Cookie Master. And that's how that's going to go in there. And we're going to shove it up in there like this. And then we're going to take this pin and put it through the hole. So let's go ahead and we'll do that right now. Alright, so we're going to come through. Doesn't really matter what one goes up front. We're going to go ahead and feed that through. And then we're going to take this. We're going to put it through those holes. You see how we're on the other side here? Now here's the most important step. Don't forget this. We got to take this little piece right here and we got to bend it up. If you don't bend that up, this piece can fall out and then your brake pads will fall out and cause problems, and you don't want that. So go ahead and bend that up towards the sky. And then there you go. Yeah, see, that's not going anywhere now. So the most important part about doing this whole process is make sure you never touch those brake pad Make sure you never touch the brake levers while you're doing this. If you do that, it can cause it to clamp in, especially once you have the brake pads in there. Then, yes, you can get them apart, but it's a real pain. So save yourself the hassle. Don't touch the brake levers once you have this started. And yeah, so next step, we just gotta put our tire back on. So let's go ahead and do that. All right guys, so now that we got the tire back on, the next important step is we're gonna give this a squeeze just to get our brake pads to where they should be, kind of centered. Then we're gonna give this a spin and see if we hear anything. So on this one, I am hearing a little bit of rub. So we're gonna give it a couple squeezes. This is the first way to check to see if we can fix it. And as you can hear it, it's still rubbing. So here's the next step we're gonna do. We're gonna loosen this up right here and right here. Then we're gonna clamp down the brakes, and then we're gonna retighten it, and we'll see if that's gonna fix it. So let me go ahead and loosen it, and we'll try that next. All right, so we've gone ahead and we've loosened these bolts. Gonna give it a spin. Now I'm gonna give it a good old grip. And then we're gonna come in here and we're just gonna tighten everything back down. Nice and firm and snug. Alright, we're gonna let go, and then we're gonna hopefully hear nothing, which I'm not hearing anything, are you? So it looks like that took a fix, and that did it. So that's awesome. At this point, this brake pad up here is done. Go ahead and squeeze it, make sure I really got it. Looks like I did. So now if you're doing the rear one, obviously you take the same steps. You just apply it to your rear tire. It's the same thing, just a little bit more junk in the way you have to get rid of. This is why we did it on the front. The next step, and what we're going to show you tomorrow, because we can't do it tonight because it's really dark out now, is we're going to have to bed in these brake pads before we take them out on the trail. So yeah, let's cut to that. So the first step after you put these brakes in is you need to bed in the brake pads. So what Elise is doing here is she's pedaling around the parking lot, and she's going to grab both the brakes and come to a near complete stop about 6 to 7 times. Then halfway through it, we're going to water down the disc brakes just to keep them from getting too hot, and she's going to go around and do it again. So anyway guys, that's how you bed in the brake pads and how you, more importantly, replace your old brake pads with new ones. I don't know if we mentioned it before, but this is for a Shimano brake system. And when it comes to finding the brake pad you need, just go look up the brakes that you have on your bike and then look up the appropriate brake pad. So before you comment and ask me, I have no idea what brake pads you need for your bike. So just Google it. It's really easy. You'll find it. But anyway, we hope that helps you out. We hope you can get through this repair yourself. It's a pretty easy one. As always, we're reminding you that no one cares how much a pickle costed in 1962. No one cares. And as always, bye!